Good morning, students. Welcome back to my channel, Molecular Mysteries. So, in the last class, I have released a video regarding the menstrual cycle part 1, which completed the first half of your cycle and which is called the follicular phase. And now, let's enter into the luteal phase of ovary, right? So, where the corpus luteum formation happens and degradation also happens there, right? So, let's discuss about that in this class. Okay. So, so till now we told about the surge, LH surge. We told about the estrogen surge, LH surge, and also little amount of progesterone in the first half of your cycle. Now, in the second half of a cycle, what happens? So, the second half of your cycle now it may enter into the fertilization or it may enter into your pregnancy because the ovary that is been released, right, the egg that is been released from the ovary, it may either travel into the fallopian tube or it may either travel finally and enter into the uterus and finally forming a zygote or embryo, or it may end up having the endometrium shedding, so which is called a menstrual cycle in girls or ladies, right? So now let's talk about what happens. So I told you it's divided into proliferative phase, follicular phase. It is happening, this is before ovulation, and it is after ovulation. Here the formation of corpus luteum happens, right? Mm. So in the same way, I can say like it's a follicular phase. Here from 14 to 28, I can say it's a luteal phase because corpus luteum is now going for a degradation or the release of your egg. And this proliferative phase, now I can say it's a secretory phase. Why it is called secretion phase? Because endometrium is completely shutting down and the whole part is coming out of your body through the cervix, right? So that is what we call the secretory phase. That secretion happens in the uterus, and this particular luteal phase happens in the ovary. So these are the two simultaneous actions. Actually, thought of writing here, but fine, right? For your easy understanding that I have given you here. Okay. Now let's see. Yes, this is very important slide, and please remember. Please try to Yeah, I told you in the first half of cycle the LH surge will be there. So there will be lots and lots of luteinizing hormone in female blood, right? So what does actually LH do? I told you it acts upon the granulosa cells, it acts upon the theca cells, and also it converts the primary oocyte into secondary oocyte, forming the ovulation, right? So during that, this particular LH surge will increase the corpus luteum. So if corpus luteum is there in the blood, LH is there in the blood. If corpus luteum production is reduced, LH will be reduced. If corpus luteum is getting degraded, LH will also get reduced in the blood of the female. So that is they are directly proportional to each other, right? So this corpus luteum, I told you, it's a ruptured Graafian follicle, right? Already by the 14th day already you have your ruptured Graafian follicle, because generally happens between 13 and 14. Anyway, in the next class I'll also discuss when the fertilization should happen if you want to plan for a pregnancy, and what is the best window for a girl to, if her ovulation and if her pregnant menstrual cycle is perfect, how can we plan for a pregnancy? What are the open window, which window is best for her egg to get fertilized? So let's discuss in the coming next class. Okay, this class let's talk about the second part of your menstrual cycle, second phase, right? So I told you LH surge would increase your formation of your corpus luteum. What is actually corpus luteum? I told you the Graafian follicle get ruptured at 14th. It could be 13th, 12th, depending upon the girl's cycle. Okay, so the corpus luteum get when it is getting ruptured, Graafian follicle when it's getting ruptured, this corpus luteum is released. What does this actually do? And this corpus luteum has mainly two important functions, like important things, that is, one is progesterone release, and also it releases a little amount of estrogen. Okay, what does actually the corpus luteum in the second half does? The main hormone that is more in the second half of your menstrual cycle is progesterone. because progesterone is actually preparing your body for your secretion, for your menstrual cycle to happen. Okay, this particular progesterone give the secretory changes in uterine endometrium. I told you, for a uterus you have endometrium surrounded inside. So whenever it is not been fertilized, the whole endometrium get shedded, and again it will get prepared for your next cycle. So that is how the cycle goes on for a girl life, like every month this is how the body is getting prepared for every cycle. If endometrium is very well played, very well made, it will get shredded by the time end of your cycle, like 28th day or 27th day. Now the progesterone that is been released, whatever the release of progesterone would immediately go for your secretory changes in your endometrium, right? So estrogen and progesterone, the progesterone released will enter into your uterus and help in preparing your endometrial changes. So what happens due to this? Due to the high amount of your progesterone, there will be an important negative feedback for FSH. Please remember, FSH will be reduced. Progesterone, what will it say? Negative feedback. No. Okay? No. Now, no more FSH needed. So we don't need FSH. So what they do, it will start giving a negative feedback for both LH and FSH. Please remember, the progesterone, higher amount of progesterone will in the blood will start uh, uh, going down, like reducing the amount of FSH and luteinizing hormone in the second half of your cycle. Because see, what does LH does? LH does LH will help you. As long as LH is there, the corpus luteum will be there. I told you, LH and corpus luteum are directly proportional to each other. When the corpus luteum has to get degenerated, when it get degenerated, when LH is reduced, right? When luteinizing hormone in the blood gets reduced, the whatever the corpus luteum that is present should will also get degenerated, right? So then only the menstrual cycle will start, the egg should be releasing. So that is how the negative feedback will comes from the progesterone saying no, no more LH, stop. So for that, if you are stopping your LH, almost you are you're stopping your formation of your corpus luteum or activating your corpus luteum. Thus the degeneration starts, the corpus luteum starts degenerated. In the same time, this particular progesterone will also give a negative feedback for follicle stimulating hormone. Why? Because it will say, okay, now you have to prepare for the next cycle. This follicle stimulating hormone is only for stimulating your Graafian follicle, right? So for that, the next cycle to happen, this particular progesterone will give you negative feedback for follicle stimulating hormone. Go and stimulate the follicles and go for a next cycle. That is how it progesterone will immediately give a change. So it is happening the second phase of your cycle. Okay, in the second phase, progesterone will be in higher amount, and it starts giving a negative effect for LH and FSH. Thus, LH will be helping you for the shedding of your endometrium, and FSH will help you starting your next cycle. So please remember, it's a simultaneous action. This particular progesterone now, corpus luteum that is already been ruptured Graafian follicle now undergoes a degeneration program. Why it is need now degenerated? Because there is no LH is coming down, so corpus luteum is also getting degenerated. When the corpus luteum is getting degenerated, will there be any progesterone? No, because corpus luteum is itself is producing the progesterone. When corpus luteum is getting degenerated, the progesterone amount is also getting degenerated. And when the progesterone amount is getting degenerated, what happens? There is the shedding starts, right? The shedding starts, and the endometrium completely comes out of your body. So if I'm having any, or if you're having any doubt, please let me know. So I have given you a cycle like this, like see, I have given a small cycle like this. So LH surge leading to corpus luteum rupture Graafian follicle, and corpus luteum will produce progesterone and estrogen. This particular progesterone will have secretory changes in uterus, and also this progesterone gives a negative feedback for your FSH and LH. So LH for what? for your undergoing degeneration of your corpus luteum, and the FSH for what? For preparing you for your next cycle. So when the corpus luteum got starts degenerating, will there be any progesterone? Because corpus luteum itself is producing progesterone. When it is getting degenerated, the progesterone gets reduced in the blood. When the progesterone is getting reduced, what happens? Automatically the shedding will start, right? The progesterone that is being released would immediately go for the secretory phase of your uterine events. If you remember, I told you the ovarian events and the uterus events. In the ovarian events, when it is about luteal phase, corpus luteum degeneration, it is releasing a progesterone. This particular progesterone that is released from the ovary will go into the uterus for happening of your secretory phase. That is, what is secretory phase? Secretion of your endometrium wall, right? So that is how the shedding of your uterine wall happens. See, and one more thing I want to talk about. Generally, generally the endometrium is a thick, hard like thing. So generally, people or most of the females experience pain while having the menstrual cycle. Even one among them who really experience that menstrual cramps. Why that happens? See, cervix is not open. Cervix generally opens. The opening of your uterus only happens during the childbirth, right? So when it is menstrual cycle, the blood has to shed out, come out, but there is no opening of cervix. So what happens? The whole uterus will squeeze itself for shedding the endometrium outside the body. So for that happen, for the pressure of it, the all layers of your body surrounding the reproductive system of the whole body, like they get squeezed out. That is how the blood is getting shedded out of your cervix and coming out of your vagina, finally out of your body. So that is how the pain generally happens. Okay, so and one more thing, interesting point I want to talk about is there are ladies who are experiencing ovulation pain. Yeah, this is a small event for your understanding. I told you during the follicular phase you have higher amount of estrogen leading to the proliferatory phase. This particular estrogen released from the follicles will help for the proliferative phase in the uterus. The same way the luteal phase, when it happens, there is a release of corpus luteum, and this particular corpus luteum ruptured Graafian follicle will be releasing more amount of progesterone. This particular progesterone released from the ovary now enters into your uterus, making preparing for the secretory phase, on the endometrium shedding will happen. That is how I just want to give you a basic information, like for easy understanding. Okay, now important thing I want to talk about is there are many females who are experiencing pain during ovulation also. So let's talk about that. So what causes pain during ovulation? So even I am one among them who experience pain either the right side of your body or on the left side of your body at the half of your cycle. So when I say my cycle is around 28 to 27 to 28 days, generally around somewhere around 13 to 14 days, or around 12 to 14th day, I might experience a pain which is a little stabbing pain, I can say, either on the right side of your body or in the left side of your body, because only one egg gets released, right? So there is no pain like menstrual pain during ovulation have only one sided pain, and because only one egg is releasing. Why it happens? See, the Graafian follicle is having a blood supply, obviously, right? This mature Graafian follicle is having a blood supply, and when it is ruptured, when it is some amount of blood will be released, right? When some amount of blood is released, it will enter into the pouch of Douglas. I told you where the pouch of Douglas is. In the vagina and the uterine part, you have pouch of Douglas. At that area, you have the peritoneal lining where it's get irritated with the blood, a little amount of blood. That is why it gives a sharp stabbing pain on either side. It could be on one on it could be right or left, but it could be a pain which is hardly a half a day, or some people it would be for few hours, 2 to 3 hours, and it will go by itself. So it is nothing but a ovulation pain. So it is generally, when it happens simultaneously, you have your white discharge happening because it is preparing for your ovulation. It is preparing for the body to undergo the fertilization. So how beautifully the body is being made. When simultaneously you have a pain happening like ovulation pain, it says that body is ready for the egg. So it is ready for the fertilization to happen. That is why it is giving you a white discharge, I can say. It semi fluid, it's a transparent fluid that is coming out from our vagina, which indicates that it is encouraging for the fertilization. So at that, because egg is getting ready and it needs a sperm for the fusion or the fertilization. So that is how the body is being made. Okay, please remember, this ovulation pain is very common. Okay, so when the ruptured, when ruptured, some blood will be released, and the whole lining of your peritoneum lining, or the paunch of Douglas lining gets irritated, and thus it leads to the pain. And that pain is generally called Mittel-Schmerz pain. It's a normal pain, they might ask you. So please remember. And here we have one more interesting point that I want to talk to you, which is about the graph. So first half and second half, I will end up with that graph only, because I don't want to don't want to trouble you even more, because this class is a bigger class. But I want you to have a clear knowledge about the hormones here. That is why I thought I can explain you. This is the wonderful, yeah. See, let me talk to you. This is the ovarian cycle. These are the uterine cycle. Ovarian cycle, it is falling, it is developing. This is the primary oocyte forming granulosa theca cells. And finally, here, the time of your ovulation, this got ruptured. This is called the Graafian follicle. Right? It's a ruptured Graafian follicle called corpus luteum. Right? This is the corpus luteum which ruptured, and this is ready for your corpus luteum is formed, and finally endometrium shedding happens. See, here they are also given you the endometrium is minimum in your follicular phase. In the luteal phase, you have your endometrium, more and more endometrium. Finally, during the menses, it will come down because it sheds the blood out of your body. And I told you what are the hormones playing role. So ovarian hormones, during that you have your follicle stimulating hormone is high in the first half, because it is producing the estrogen. At the same time, I told you luteinizing hormone is also high during your ovulation, because it is also releasing all important estrogen hormones. And right, estrogen hormones is high, helping for your corpus luteum release. Right, that is how the LH is more during the first half of your cycle. When you see here, the second half of your cycle, you have a little amount of progesterone, but not completely low. But progesterone is maximum in your second half. Right, at the same time, I can say you FSH is lower in your the second half of your cycle. So this is how we can, discuss, like we can get to know the importance of your estrogen, progesterone, LH and FSH. Okay, hope I am clear with the topic of the menstrual cycle second part also. So in the next class, I'll talk about the fertile period for a woman. Okay, let's make a small video out of it. It could be useful for any of them outside. Okay, so thank you and have a nice day.